Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by SupermanHomepage.com, the number one Superman fan site in the world. In this, our July 3rd, 2023 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including the announcements for the casting of Superman Legacy's Superman and Lois Lane. Of course, it dropped the day after we did our last show. Always happens. We're going to be talking about the finale for Season 3 of Superman and Lois. We're going to be talking about the imminent premiere of My Adventures with Superman, and got comic book stuff to talk about and so much more. We're also going to turn to you to ask for your questions and comments on any particular Superman topic you would like to discuss, and to let you know how all that works and how you can get involved in tonight's show. Let me introduce you to my co-host. I believe he's suffering through a heat wave, Michael Bailey. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Steve. How's it going?
Doing well, and yourself?
It's getting hot in here.
Yeah.
But I will not be taking off all my clothes.
I'll fan you down.
I appreciate that. No one, but in all honesty, no one wants to hear that it's like almost the surface of the sun where I live, because it's all over the country right now. So it's not just me. But what they do want to hear is Superman, because people watching us live right now on Superman Homepage Live want to hear all about the latest and the greatest in the new world of Superman. We've got a lot to discuss tonight. But sometimes, when we don't have as much to discuss, we take live callers about halfway through the show. And the way you do that is you go to supermanhomepage.com/live and press the call now button. That'll put you in the green room. You can watch the show as we're doing everything. And if we take callers, we'll take you there. If you don't want to use your computer and want to use your fancy smartphone, you can scan that QR code that's right next to me. It says Scan Me. It's very simple. If you do use that, though, please use a headset. And if you're watching us through your computer, please use headphones, because we have sound issues otherwise.
Yep, there's a bit of delay, and that can cause a little bit of a concern. But if you're a little bit shy and you don't want to get on the phone tonight, then you can feel free to participate in the comments, both on YouTube and on Facebook. Michael and I can keep an eye on that feed and react to your questions and comments as the show goes along. But if you would like your question or comment featured on the screen live during the show, that's called a super chat on YouTube. You click the dollar symbol, a slider appears on your screen, you decide on the dollar amount you're willing to donate, and we appreciate all donations to the show, and we will feature your comment and question live on the screen. And thank you to our sponsors, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. We appreciate your support. If you'd like to support those join those fine folks and support this show, all you have to do is click the join button on YouTube. There are different levels of membership and with different levels of perks, or you can go to patreon.com/Superman homepage. All right, as you said, Michael, we've got plenty to talk about tonight. As always, the world of Superman waits for us to finish our live show and then drops a bomb on the world of Superman with some breaking news that just happens to be right after the show has concluded. So we're, a couple of days delayed on discussing this, you and I, but obviously we've been covering it pretty heavily on the website and in other parts of the Superman homepage broadcasting network. But it is announced, James Gunn confirmed that David Corenswet has been cast as our Superman Clark Kent, with Rachel Brosnahan, our new Lois Lane. I think nobody was really surprised that Rachel seemed to be a favourite amongst most folks, as well as David. I think he was at the top of most people's lists amongst those people who were being considered for the role.
Yeah, I think only Nicholas Hoult was the other one that people were seemingly pushing for, which I didn't see him for Superman. If they still want to cast him for Lex, I think that's amazing. No, it's just, as always, I run these things by my wife because I want the civilian reaction. As she's like honorary Superman fan because she's just been with me for so long. But I showed her the picture of both of them, and she said that Corenswet looked like Henry Cavill and Brandon Routh had a kid. Which I think is, I think that's a fair assessment. And I have not watched the Miraculous Miss Maisel or whatever that show's called. Now I'm more likely to. But having seen clips of it and watching her on that show, I think she had the spunk for Lois. I know nothing about this guy outside of the fact that he's been in a couple movies. Apparently, one with Darren Criss, so it's always nice to see Superman working together. Um, you were absolutely right last week. One of the first things I saw when the announcement was made was people saying he needed to bulk up.
We've
So
already got
that's
one
just
of
going to
those
be a
in the
thing.
show tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's just. I guess water is wet, and
The sky is
that's
blue.
going to be people's reactions. So I don't know. I'm glad we finally have the casting in place because then we can move past that part of this whole process.
Yeah. Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me. I did a whole video. It was fun because I titled it "Superman Fans Are Stupid," and it was just like obviously a tongue-in-cheek, kind of go at how predictable fandom in any shape or form, not necessarily Superman fans, but just the internet as a whole, I guess, was people saying things like he needs to bulk up, which obviously he will because every actor who has played Superman has not been in Superman shape when they were cast for the role. Even Henry Cavill needed to bulk up beyond what he was. Christopher Reeve was a string bean. Brandon Routh was, even to most people's thoughts, wasn't as bulky as he needed to be in the film. We've spoken many times about how he was all torso. That's just his body shape. But yeah, every actor has had to bulk up or had to do some training to get into the role of Superman. And not just Superman, every superhero film, whether you're looking at Spider-Man, whether you're looking at Captain America, whether you're looking at Thor, every actor who has played a muscle-bound superhero has had to do a lot of gym work, and Hollywood has the best dietitians and gym instructors and what have you to get these people into the shape that's required for their role. There are even roles where people have had to put on weight, and they've done that for particular characters that they have to play. Russell Crowe, for one, put massive amounts of fat on for a particular role that he was playing that he required him to do that. It probably wasn't too hard. I think it would be easier to put on weight than to bulk up muscle bound.
Yeah, it's just losing it afterwards. That's
Yeah.
the problem. Not everybody's like Robert De Niro who can gain and lose, again and again and again, as he did through a lot of the 80s and the 90s. No, it's just I guess it's just how much bulking up is he going to do? I felt personally that the heroes like Superman and Batman in the Snyderverse were too bulky.
Mm.
Um, One of the things that I like about Tyler Hoechlin is that he's built, but he's not gigantic.
Yeah.
And I don't think you need to be gigantic to be Superman, because the powers come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that we kind of have a middle ground with this one.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't have to be, super sized. As you say, his Kryptonian powers are where his strength comes from, not from the fact that he has, earthbound muscles like a bodybuilder, but I think it's a particular shape that people are expected to look like when they're playing the role of Superman. It's always been that way, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the case. He doesn't have to be as muscly as Henry Cavill. The other one was, like you said, he looks like Henry Cavill. He looks like Brandon Routh. He looks like Tom Welling. I've seen all those different things. It's because they all look like Superman. It's a particular look that you're going for. And if he looks like those people, then that's a good thing because they all played Superman.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, unlike Batman, Superman actors tend to have a definite facial structure in common.
Mm.
Like we've talked about this before, but years ago they did one of those things where they put everybody's faces together to see what that would look like, and like it just kind of looked like Superman. Whereas when you do that with the Batman actors, they've all looked different to a certain extent. So it's kind of interesting. You kind of had that flip flopping there.
Yeah, exactly. And because he wears the
freeze,
cowl as
which
Batman.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Because he wears the cowl as Batman, it's not as important for his facial structure to be a particular way. Where with Superman, it's it's the blue eyes, it's the strong jawline, it's the hairline, it's all that kind of stuff that people expect and go, oh, that's Superman, and that's what Superman looks like. So, yeah, that is, and I think David Corenswet has the right look. I've seen different roles and different things where he's had very much a Superman Clark Kent type of appearance, and I haven't seen him in anything. I've watched a couple of video clips now from different films that he's been in, and he comes across very much the way I would expect a character, an actor playing Superman to act, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to the role. Rachel Brosnahan as well. I have not seen her in many things either, but having seen her in interviews and having watched a few clips of that marvelous Miss Maisel, as you mentioned, she has that spunk and that attitude and what have you that she can bring to Lois Lane, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing the two of them take on Superman and Lois Lane respectively. I'm looking forward to seeing what other cast members are added to the film now that they've got the two main roles done. You've mentioned whether Nicholas Hoult will be cast as Lex Luthor. That was always a thing that we keep hearing, and the Hollywood Reporter saying that they might also be looking, I think we mentioned this last week, at the Skarsgård brothers as possible actors who might take on the role of Lex Luthor, if indeed Lex Luthor is even in this movie.
Yeah, we're not 100% sure of that. We know Superman, Lois, and the Authority, and that's pretty much it.
Yep, so yeah, we'll look forward to seeing more announcements as they move forward. So very interesting, as we know, David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan, our new Superman and Lois Lane. Congratulations to them both. Looking forward to seeing what they bring to the role. All right, so that was the film side of things with Superman Legacy. As we know, it will be released July 11th, 2025. Looking forward to all the details coming out over the next year or so. Then on the documentary side of things, DC and Max have released the official trailer for the new documentary series Superpowered, the DC Story. It's a 3-part documentary about the iconic comic book company's legacy. It premieres July 20th on Max. Here was a bit of the trailer that was released.
Heroism is just very simple. Anytime somebody uses courage when they're afraid, in the name of something good.
It's stories about hope, about redemption. It's the same themes that have been underlying our folk tales since the beginning of time.
So that's just a bit of the trailer. You can watch the full thing at our website. But this sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing a proper new documentary on the story of DC. Interesting timing, though.
Yeah, I what I like most about it is that it's going to be 3 parts.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the problems with other documentaries that have been done, especially like the last one, which I think was called Secret Origin, is that they tried to cram like 75 years of history into 2 hours, and it's just, you can't do that. It's going to be hard to do it with 3 parts, but at least they're giving it the time.
Mm. Yeah, so interesting. Mind the Gap saying that he has no interest in these documentaries because they are based on revisionist history, and they do tend to kind of, portray the company in a particular light. Obviously, it's more of a not necessarily a propaganda piece, but it is a piece where they're going to be talking about the better things that the company has done over the time and focus on some of the newer imagery and the newer stories that they're doing now, because it's also a promotional piece.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely going to serve the company. It's not here to be a hard-hitting documentary about the history of the history of DC Comics. You're not going to get that from a corporate level documentary like this. So it's just like, how well are they going to go into certain aspects of the history? I'm sure they're going to go through the creation of Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. I'm sure they're going to talk about the hard traveling heroes and lots of imagery from the various adaptations over the years. So, yeah,
Yeah, interesting to see the people that they've interviewed.
that's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, Melissa Benoist, Greg Berlanti, obviously, Mike Carlin, Linda Carter, Henry Cavill, James Gunn, obviously we saw him, Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Michael Keaton's in there as well, Jim Lee, of course, and Jason Momoa, Christopher Nolan, Christopher Reeve. They've got an interview there, obviously from something they've asked about. Spoke to him in the past about. So yeah, they've gone from a full gamut of different people from TV, film, new and old. Over 60 interviews with DC creators and actors from DC films over the years. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they've collected together in this 3-part documentary series.
Absolutely.
All right, so on the television side of things, this past week we saw the season finale, the season 3 finale of Superman and Lois. You gave this one another 5 out of 5. They were pretty rare. There were a lot of 4 out of 5s this season, but the finale, you gave it a 5 out of 5. It was titled "What Kills You Only Makes You Stronger." And it's got Doomsday in it.
Yeah, that title should have clued us in about what was coming. No, I was kind of impressed. I once again kind of mirroring the season premiere. You had everyone being really thirsty at the beginning of the episode, and I was actually kind of touched by the Lois and Clark scene because that was kind of important to their relationship. But once we got into Lex and him turning Bizarro into Doomsday, who looked a lot like the Abomination from the Incredible Hulk film. I think that's the closest that I could really compare. Yeah, it was just kind of amusing. I mean, we had Gretchen Kelly, but her real name's not Gretchen Kelly. Apparently, that's the Contessa del Portenza, which is kind of a deep '90s cut for Superman. Played by the Invisible Woman, I'll add. She was the Invisible Woman in the Roger Corman never released Fantastic Four movie back in the 90s. So I was kind of amused by that. But no, I was very impressed that they went to Doomsday. It was interesting that they used a similar idea for Batman v Superman, but just went into a completely different direction with that. And I also was a little, like, on one hand, I'm impressed. I'm like, oh, they finally went for a cliffhanger. And I'm like, oh, they finally went for a cliffhanger. So now I have to wait an entire year.
Yeah. This episode felt, for me, very two-part-ish in that the first part was all lovey-dovey with, Lois and Clark doing their little romp overseas. There was Lana and John Henry, having dinner. There was even though it didn't work out the way he hoped it would, there was Sam Lane, with his date, although she ended up being a plant, if you like, and wasn't who she made out she was. Everything just seemed very shippy. There was a lot of relationship stuff going on. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just felt like it was at odds with what was coming later on. And everyone's like going... And I felt a little bit kind of weird about it. And then, then the Doomsday stuff happened with Bizarro and Lex Luthor, and it kind of had a total shift. And everyone was like, yeah, how great was this episode? But I didn't feel like the first half of it was that great. I didn't feel like there was a lot of substance to it. It felt like it was very airy-fairy, and then, maybe it was intended that way to show that everything looked like everybody was happy and rosy and everything was going really well, and then, bang, all this crap happened with what Lex was doing, and the world fell apart. So, yeah.
It felt... And I make these comparisons all the time, but this time it's rather apt. It felt like a Smallville season finale, and that's not a bad thing, because Smallville, where Smallville usually excelled was their season finales and their season premieres. They always went all out for those, so it's not in any means an insult. I think it was interesting where they were like maneuvering characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kyle and Chrissy are now
Yeah,
expecting and are engaged.
that was
And
quick.
then yeah, Kyle, read the room. Don't do it in front of the entire town. That's all I'm going to say about that. Uh, I liked that Lana and John Henry were finally kind of moving forward with their relationship, just as John Henry is offered this job in Metropolis. And in all of those cases of how, different relationships were firming up, different relationships were changing, it felt like a season finale, like a
Mm.
proper like season finale. Like we're moving these characters into a different direction. So I get what you're saying about the tonal shift. It's just I was so bought into everything, it didn't hit me the same way. Because once we get into the Lex Luthor side of things, and like kind of the flashback of how he created this version of Doomsday,
Mm.
and and this was, it was spoiled for me, because of course it was. I go on Twitter, after the episode airs. It's my fault, so I'm not mad at anybody because I knew it was going to happen anyways. But when the first tweet I saw was, "Oh, they're ripping off BVS," and after I watched it, I'm like, "Did they though? Did they really?" Because yes, it was Lex having something to do with a supposedly dead Kryptonian and turning him into a monster, but the way they did it and the reasons that they did it were so completely different. While Lex in BVS, it was a little bit of his blood. It was Zod. It was it was this whole thing going into and using the engine from the uh, the
Scout
Kryptonian
ship.
ship.
Mm.
Here, it's Lex kind of stumbling upon, like, if I kill this guy, he comes back. And I will admit, the CGI was a little bit ropey in the middle part when he was kind of between being Heckling in the Bizarro makeup and full on Doomsday. There were some shots where I'm like, okay, that wasn't fully baked, but it's still better than other shows. And I can't believe they're doing this on a TV budget. And just having him show up the way he did. Why are they always trashing the barn? And having that fight happen the way it did, and having him use Sam Lane's paging device to bring the creature there. And it was an impressive fight. I mean, I was really like, it wasn't especially long,
Mm.
but at least it went places. They were fighting in the air, and then they were fighting underground.
Went from
And of
Smallville
course,
to Metropolis.
we have something like from season one when Lois was trying to break Jordan out of what's his name's control. Thinking of all the
Mm.
things of the family. That's what brings Clark around to fight back and not sit there and get punched again and again, and then just ending it like they did, where they're just coming at each other. I was just incredibly impressed.
Mm.
I am hoping they don't go full Death of Superman for the next season, because I don't think you want to just. They've got 10 episodes. I would like another story.
Mm.
Please.
Yeah, and they've already hinted that storyline has happened in an alternate Earth when they, with the Crisis, when they did shot to that scene of, the iconic, Superman dead in Lois's arms with the cape on a stick behind her kind of thing. Yeah, the fight was awesome, and yeah, this was nothing. This I think hinted more towards the comic book origins of Origin, where every time he was killed, he was brought back and kept being killed and brought back, and I don't know if it was Lex having fun, in inverted commas, with the way to kill Bizarro to bring him back in every time, or whether it was him going, like in the comic books, he can't die each time, so you have to use a different method. And so it was just ways of making the creature more resilient and stronger. And yeah, it was also interesting that we came full circle because, as you said, we thought back in season 2 that when the creature came out of the mines in Smallville, we thought it was Doomsday in that bodysuit, and it ended up being Bizarro. And now Bizarro has come full circle and become Doomsday. And that's a different take. That's not been done before. You know, we've had Davis Bloom become Doomsday in Smallville. We've had, you know, the body of General Zod become Doomsday in Batman v Superman. But here we've got the alternate version, the Bizarro version of Superman become Doomsday. So it was an interesting amalgamation of different types of origins of Doomsday brought into one.
Yeah, him having like hints of the backwards S was a nice touch as well. I think from a design standpoint, as far as live action Doomsdays go, I don't know. The one on Krypton, I didn't see those episodes, but seeing images of it, I'm like, that's pretty impressive for what they did. I think this is probably the most, to me, the best one. And that's, again, not trying to take away anything from Smallville, because Smallville was trying to do as much with even less.
Yes.
You
in rubber suits and what have you. But I think
yeah,
Smallville did the best in the bony protrusions. None of the other versions, even this version from Superman and Lois, seems to have enough bone protrusions for the character, and it makes it look like, you know, the troll from this, that, or, you know, like, it doesn't necessarily look like a bony creature the way Doomsday has always been portrayed in the comic books. Smallville tried that probably, and I think got it the best. Krypton's design overall, I think, was pretty good, but both Batman v Superman and Superman and Lois, I don't think put enough bony protrusions in to make the character Doomsday-ish enough for a lot of fans.
Yeah, I tend to take shots at Batman v Superman, and it's only because I really don't like that movie. But Doomsday was one of the more disappointing elements to me. It's just like, I'm really glad that the creators of the comics got to see that, like, on the big screen, and got to see their character kind of come to life. I appreciate all that. I really do. But as a fan of that story, I think, one, they didn't earn it. And that's the other thing. That's the other difference between this and Batman v Superman, is we're at the end of the 3rd season. They have more than earned the right to do this story. Even if they don't kill him, they do more like what they did on Justice League Unlimited, where he just fights him. I honestly think that they have at least earned that, because now we have more of an emotional connection to not only him but the entire family. Were you surprised that the meteor shower didn't end badly for Smallville?
Yeah, that's interesting because, you know, Smallville and meteor showers are always connected, and I think everyone was expecting something from the meteor shower, but it ended up just being a reason for everybody to be together and the town all getting together, and it wasn't anything really a story point other than being some type of celebration that everybody was getting together for, and it was more almost like a distraction for things to happen, like for Sam Lane to get kidnapped. It was, you know, no one was worrying about where he was because, you know, everybody was busy doing their own thing, and it gave Kyle a chance to announce his thing. And yeah, so really the meteor shower was kind of not really anything at all, which was interesting.
Yeah, it was more of a red herring.
Yeah. So here are the questions that John Patrick Van Pelt has sent us in the comments. Where did Clark Kent and Lois Lane fly to when Lois said she's ready? That was their sexual fling, if you like. Lois was ready to get back into the sack, if you like, with that's an Australian expression, I guess. But it's, you know, obviously after her operation and not feeling ready to be intimate together, they flew off to Tal Rose Villa, isn't it? Somewhere in Italy?
Yeah. And then they were gonna bring the kids there for a vacation, which I thought was nice.
After seeing Judge Tara Regan murdered by Lex Luthor, how is she connected to Lex in the first place? Well, she was the judge that sent him to prison after that court case where he was innocent, but all the evidence was pointing to him based on the journalism, the investigation that Lois and Clark, or Lois, had done back in the day. when Mannheim had framed him for crimes that he did not commit. So that's why she was removed. I noticed that there are telescopes in this version of the meteor shower storyline. What's the difference with this one compared to the Smallville TV show had? Well, the Smallville meteor shower was where Clark came to Earth, and we all obviously were expecting something similar here, that something would happen in the meteor shower. But it's just a regular meteor shower that happens at a particular time of the year that obviously people in Smallville are able to view. And being that there's probably not a lot of city lights, it's probably a great place to be able to get out there in the country areas and see meteor showers, where in the city you probably won't be able to see them as much.
Yeah, in Smallville, when it hit in the pilot, they didn't know it was coming.
Yeah.
So it was more tragic.
That's
and then
right.
when it happened, and it was kind of a surprise again in season 4. So it's like this time, meteor showers are announced far in advance. It's kind of like eclipses and such.
You
So
can predict them.
you know, and Smallville is a small town. There's not a whole lot to do.
Yeah. What did you guys think of Clark's speech to Jordan about fixing his friendship with Sarah? Yeah, it's important that Jordan get his head out of his backside and realize that, you know, he needs to be a bit more mature about the way he's been dealing with his relationship with Sarah, and I think that kind of was played out pretty well.
Yeah, and it was also continuing, like, you know, you have to be more mature just in general about everything you're doing.
Exactly, your decisions, your choices.
I will say I agree with Clark. I think they should get matching shirts, but that's just...
Otis, we all thought that he was killed at the end of the penultimate episode for this season, but ended up just being that his ear was bitten off.
Yeah, that was creepy. Yeah, I just they really went for like the kind of the gore factor towards the end of this season with what they were doing with Bizarro. So you know, the fact that he ate an entire cow was kind of upsetting.
Yeah. Yeah, so Tyler Hoechlin obviously played Bizarro Superman, but I don't know about the Doomsday. I think that might have been mostly CG, and they might have done some motion capture, but I don't know if anybody was in particular, if Tyler was involved in being the Doomsday creature as well.
No, I think if I'm remembering the credits on IMDb, there is somebody, the Behemoth. So I'm just assuming that whoever that was just the dude in the mocap suit, so that they could have somebody for Tyler to actually kind of fight, so he's not like sitting there punching air.
Exactly. So yeah, we don't know how much of Doomsday will be in season 4 of the show. We actually don't know anything about season 4 at this point in time, beyond the fact that Lex Luthor is going to be a recurring character, as will the Kent family, while all other cast members will be guest appearances or cameo appearances one way or another. We don't know if they're staying in Smallville, if they move to Metropolis, if Clark dies. We don't know anything at this point in time, other than, yes, it was a cliffhanger, and we will see how that battle pans out once we return for Season 4's premiere, which will happen sometime in early 2024, I imagine.
Yeah, probably late February, March. It's usually when they come back.
We don't know whether the CG... Kenneth is asking, do you think the budget will impact the CGI for Season 4? Hopefully the budget cuts that they've had to make have been satisfied by reducing the episodes to 10 for Season 4 and the casting cuts, if you like.
Yeah.
Hopefully the computer-generated graphics won't be... The budget for that won't be impacted too much.
Yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see how all that shakes out. I don't know how I feel about them moving to Metropolis. I think that'll make it more difficult for Jordan to operate. It's kind of easier for him to train in Smallville. I think they're moving everybody where they can move out, or where other people don't have to be as involved.
Yeah.
Like, would Lana resign as mayor and go and be with John Henry? I mean, that seems kind of an extreme thing for her to do, since she went through all the trouble to become mayor. So,
Yeah, so we'll wait and see when season 4 is announced. Obviously, it has been announced as far as happening, but we know it's 10 episodes. We know only the main cast members, as in the Kent family, are back, and as regular cast members. So we'll wait and see where things go. Obviously, the writer's strike at the moment and pending actors' strike, big news in Hollywood. So don't expect season 4 until early, maybe first quarter of 2024, I imagine.
yeah.
All right. So, that's the season finale of Superman and Lois for season 3. We are going to take a quick break, play some messages, and then come back on the flip side to talk about My Adventures with Superman. The premiere is imminent on Adult Swim. Back after these messages.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
If you're enjoying Superman Homepage Live, then please like and share this video with your family and friends. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, then you can click on the bell to receive notifications whenever we post a new video. You can also join our YouTube membership program. Just click the join button below. Or you can become a patron and support our website by going to patreon.com/Superman Homepage.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer. I'm the voice of Superman and Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
I got the power to dive to the bottom of the sea. I got the power to fly through the galaxy. I got the power of Superman.
When evil's on the rise, quick change Superman takes to the sky.
I got the power of Superman. Wow!
To stop Superman, evil Lex Luthor will go to any length, but he's no match for Deep Dive Superman's awesome strength.
I got the power of Superman.
You've got the power. Superman figures, each sold separately.
All right, we're back on Superman Homepage Live, where, as I mentioned before the break, the premiere of My Adventures with Superman, the new animated series, is about to premiere on midnight, July 6th on Adult Swim, and then will be available to stream next day on Max. I believe it'll also there'll be repeat viewings both on Adult Swim and I think maybe on Cartoon Network as well later in the week. So, obviously I have seen the first 2 episodes, which I reviewed without spoilers on the website, but my full review of with spoilers and complete details for the 2-episode premiere of My Adventures with Superman will go up on July 6th, so after midnight on July 6th. So be prepared to read that if you would like to see my thoughts on the whole thing. I have watched the 3rd episode as well, which I can talk about once that airs, and my review will continue, and each week I'll put up my reviews for My Adventures with Superman. But firstly, are you looking forward to this, Michael?
Oh yeah, definitely. I really liked the look of the trailer. I like the fact that it's a proper half-hour cartoon and not like 14-minute chapters with 2 chapters per episode, quote unquote. It's going to be interesting. I'm not really looking too deeply into it because I just want to kind of watch it and be surprised. and just kind of take it as it comes. It seems to be a different take on the Superman idea, but not a bad one.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting in that there are characters that you'll be familiar with, but they've got their own twist on those characters. So it'll be interesting to see what fans think of the twist on particular characters. Things like Intergang, Livewire, Silver Banshee, those kinds of things are very interesting. The versions. So yeah, look. Here's a clip. Sorry. I'm not actually in the show Nostalgic Pod Blast. I'm not in My Adventures with Superman. I've just seen the first 2 episodes. So sorry if I somehow confused everyone. But yeah, I was given an advanced screening of episodes of My Adventures with Superman. So far, I've watched the first 3, and I put up my spoiler-free review of the first 2 episodes on the website. And then the full review will go up on after the episode has aired. So sorry if there was any confusion about that. I thought it was pretty clear, but nevertheless, here is a clip that Warner Brothers Animation posted from the episode. I'll give you. If for some reason this gets cut out later on, you understand why. But here is the clip anyway.
Clark. What is this? This is how you came to us, Clark. From the sky. Right down to here.
The answers to everything you want to know. We think they're all in there.
My green screen is bleeding through it.
Hello?
Filo, cum longi arms che faveron, nomo mi chorel.
What's he saying?
I don't think that's a language from Earth.
Si farigos con Clara. Atenu, zona se ai verserva. Lernen Fabio sprek. Nectimu. Mi estasi. En nero spian casbrenu. Kalel, aslane. Kalel, aslane. Kalel, aslane. Kalel, aslane. Kalel, Krypton.
So there you have it. As I said, the green screen was bleeding through because of the green in the imagery showing your microphone through it. So I was like, what's wrong with Jor-El? He's looking really weird there. But he's wearing a green screen outfit, as Ramel said. So apologies for some of that. But you can watch the full clip on our website if you want to see that properly in full and on your full screen. It's the introduction of Clark being introduced to the idea that he is not from around here, and that was his first meeting with Jor-El, who is obviously speaking Kryptonian, but not a language that Clark understands.
Yeah, Jor-El just seemed angry.
It seemed that way, and with an eye patch. Interesting, which you probably couldn't see there.
That's the eye patches are cool, so we're gonna make this look different.
Yeah, so we'll have to let you watch the full episode to be able to see how all that pans out. But My Adventures with Superman takes full flight Thursday, July 6th at midnight on Adult Swim, and then next day on Max. So make sure you check it out. I don't think Superman fans will be disappointed. But there are lots of imageries, some stills that have been released this past week from My Adventures with Superman. This is from actually episode 3, this still, as are many of these that we're going through here. I love the designs of these characters. I love the anime appeal to it, but it's also got some classic and iconic imagery, some CG stuff with the robots and what have you. And these are all from looks like the third and fourth, definitely third and fourth episodes. Some of these images. So there is My Adventures with Superman. As I said, July 6th, couple of days away. You will enjoy it, I promise you. Have just go in with an open mind, and I think fans will love what they see.
Awesome.
Now on some sad news. We've been speaking about Smallville a little bit tonight, but we found out, and it's been confirmed, that actor Julian Sands, who played the embodiment of Jor-El on Smallville, has sadly been confirmed as having died when he went missing in the Angeles National Forest back in January. And just recently, some hikers stumbled across his remains, and it's been confirmed by the Fontana Sheriff Station that he was indeed identified as actor Julian Sands, who played Jor-El in 2 episodes of Smallville during the final 2 seasons of the series, which is very sad.
Yeah, no, he was one of those actors that popped up a lot in the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. He was in a movie called Warlock, and Boxing Helena, and other kind of weird independent horror and just weird. Boxing Helena is just a weird movie.
Okay.
I knew it mainly because it's the movies my sister watched. So when I saw him playing Jor-El, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, it's very sad. Because I remember him going missing, but didn't hear anything else. So it's kind of sad that it was confirmed that he did, in fact, pass away.
So our condolences to his wife and 3 adult children that he leaves behind. All right, let's move on to what's happening in the comic book world. And DC have released an official trailer for Dawn of DC Night Terrors. Night Terrors is the upcoming comic book event. And here is a bit of that trailer if you want to check out this upcoming event from DC Comics.
Horror devastates the DC Universe in a terrifying 2-month event. Dawn of DC Night Terrors. Discover the nightmares of DC's greatest heroes as a disturbing new villain plunges Earth into darkness and the sleepless nights attack. The battle for the waking world starts in July. It's not just a dream.
This film has not yet been rated.
Very dramatic. So what goes bump in the night for a supervillain? That's the tagline there on the press release. So yeah, this is a new line-wide event that is happening, and the first issue goes on sale tomorrow, Tuesday, July 4th, called Night Terrors First Blood #1. It's a one-shot from Joshua Williamson, who's writing Superman at the moment, and art by Howard Porter. So they're pulling out all the stops for this saga. Night Terrors is a story that takes place over 4 issues, written by Williamson with art by Giuseppe Camuncoli from The Joker, and other artists. In which Boston Brand, aka Deadman, serves as a supernatural tour guide. Following the events of Night Terror's First Blood, everyone in the world is trapped inside their nightmares, and Batman and Deadman are trying to figure out who Insomnia really is and why he wants revenge on the heroes of the DC universe. So interesting new horror-filled nightmare saga, I guess.
I apologize for laughing.
Well, it took me by surprise.
I was not expecting it to be that quite over the top. It's funny because I'm pretty chill about just about everything involving new comics these days because I have no skin in the game anymore. I really wasn't excited about Dark Crisis, but then when they had that sale, I bought the first 5 issues and then kind of dove headfirst into it. I don't think that's going to happen here. I like horror, but I'm not sure I want to see an entire horror-based event. I think that's an interesting idea. I know I've seen a lot of people on Twitter very excited about this coming up. It's just going to mean I'm not spending some money for the next couple of months because the regular books aren't coming out. So
yeah. So this is what you can look forward to this week, as well as Night Terrors, which I'll get to in a second. But there is Adventures of Superman John Kent #5. That is out this week, and that is available in a couple of different variant covers, which you can see right there. Also out this week is Steelworks #2, continuing on the story of John Henry Irons. And then, as I mentioned, Night Terrors First Blood is #1. It's a one-shot, is available this week, and it is available in a number of different variant covers right there. So, yeah, very interesting covers. And then out this week is DC Vampire vs. Vampires All-Out War Part 1 hardcover. And then this is an interesting one, Clark and Lex trade paperback. It's a young Superman graphic novel. So that is out this week as well, if you're interested to read these books. So that's what's...
Let the shipping begin.
Be interesting to see where that goes. But let's get into This Week in History, Michael, which is something we need to do before the show ends.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bonds of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
Not a whole lot going on this week. I realized last week that there were a couple that I missed, but I didn't throw them in here. Two historic ones, historic for me, but not this one. 1963, we have Superboy #107, Clark Kent Super Show Off. So I like the fact that the sign now says Home of Super Clark Kent. I kind of dig that. Also, that same week, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen #71 came out, and it's the plot against Jimmy Olsen. And my only question there is, isn't that the entire series? Seems kind of obvious. 1973, we have Superman #268, which has a really cool cover of Superman carrying Clark Kent as Batgirl. Yeah, there was a time where Batman kept trying to set Clark up with Barbara Gordon because she was a little older back then. Those were interesting. They're entertaining stories. I kind of dug them. Then jumping ahead to 1983, we have DC Comics Presents #62, where Superman teams up with the Freedom Fighters. So we have Uncle Sam and all that. Really cool Gil Kane cover. And considering there's Nazis on the cover, I get the very now feeling. 1993, Action Comics #690. We're continuing into Reign of the Supermen. This was one of the issue where it was basically how the Cyborg convinced everybody that it was the Eradicator that destroyed Coast City. And this was the origin of the Eradicator, where you find out he is the Eradicator, which you did not know up until this point. In 2003, Action Comics #805, which is, I think, the last part of that Zod storyline. Justice League Adventures #21. And oh my God, it's been 20 years since Superman Birthright.
Wow.
This was the one that when I saw it, I went, no, it's not 20 years. It's not 2 decades.
Can't be.
And yet, here we are. I was not a huge fan of this when it came out. I have since come to really enjoy it as an origin of Superman. It's got a lot good going for it. 2013, we have Action Comics #22. This is getting into a really weird era of Action Comics where you didn't know what you were going to get until Greg Pak takes over in about a year or so. In the real world, on July 3rd, we have, unfortunately, Noel Neal passing away in 2016. I remember us talking about that. It was very, very sad.
Was.
July
Good friend of the show and of ours.
Yes. Absolutely. Such a sweet woman. July 4th, Eva Marie Saint, who is Martha Kent in Superman Returns, was born in 1924.
Means she's 99.
Good Lord in heaven. Hanging in there. That's really impressive. July 5th, Richard Donner passed away in 2021. And it just reminded me when that happened of that he was 40 when he directed Superman the movie.
Crazy.
And July 6th, in 1950, John Byrne was born. So he's having his 73rd birthday. And that's This Week in History. Very short and sweet.
Thank you very much. And let's jump into the fan favorite question. All right, Michael, what was our fan favourite question from last week?
What is your favorite Joe Shuster Superman image? And Rommel Kantukin wrote in and said, one of my favorite Joe Shuster image is the early Superman concept from 1933. That is quite cool.
That is.
Especially like the logo on that one.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Rommel, for sending that one in. I'm trying to get my notes handy quickly so that I can push on and read what was next. Maybe you can do the next one, Michael, while I'm struggling here.
Yeah. J.P. Roca wrote in, my favorite Joe Shuster Superman image is the cover of Superman #6, where Superman completely blows his secret identity by signing it Clark Kent. So good going there, Superman.
Yeah, well done. Okay, next up, I'll do your ones. You can do my ones from here on in. We have Patrick. Patrick wrote in saying, Patrick O'Neill, my favourite Joe Shuster Superman art is the cover art from Superman #6 as well. It's just as like an iconic cover. I missed last week's question. My favourite Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. So my favourite art from that is the style guide photos he did when I first became a fan of Superman. This is the artwork I remember. Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Patrick.
And finally, Orrin Lewis wrote in and said, of course, there are countless great Joe Shuster covers images, but I chose this one because it struck differently. A sketch I came across from a San Diego Comic-Con 1977 brochure, that which I haven't seen or come across before as a bookseller and collector. One of the perks of buying from the public and getting first dibs. Love the Superman homepage and everything you guys put into honoring Earth's champion. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Orrin. Yeah, we haven't heard from Orrin before that I remember, and that is a very cool, rare-looking image. I've always been partial to Superman #1. I just think it's a very dynamic image and one that's been replicated many, many times before. It's got the indication of flight and hovering, and it's just a really cool border around it and everything like that. So I've really always liked that image from Joe Shuster. So that's my entry.
Yeah, and we do want to... Dyna Guy pointed out that James Gunn posted a Joe Shuster thing. James Gunn, if you want to write into the show, you can directly post to the show. We'll take it. You don't have to hide it on Twitter.
Exactly.
Like you did. So.
Yes, I'm sure that's what he did. All right, so that's pretty much bringing us to the end of tonight's episode. But before we finish off, I wanted to quickly make a mention of the fact that the Superman homepage is undergoing a search for the greatest Superman cosplayer in the world. I just posted up a kind of trailer thing on YouTube. You've got until the end of August to enter in, but just head to supermanhomepage.com/cosplay and you'll see all the details for that, or you can share the video around. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and a like right now on this video, whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook. Share it around so fans can know about this show, and we look forward to catching up with you again when Michael and I return for next week's episode of Superman Homepage Live on Monday, July 10th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Look forward to talking to you then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. Thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. We appreciate your support. And thank you to my co-host, Michael Bailey. Thank you, Michael.
Oh, my pleasure, Steve. And next week's question is, what is your favorite Ed McGuinness Superman?
Oh, yes. Thank you for doing that. Yes, what is your favorite Ed McGuinness Superman image is our fan favorite question for next week. So, yes, thank you for reminding me about that. But that is it for tonight's show. Thank you, folks, for joining us over this past hour. We appreciate your company. Look forward to catching up with you next week. Until then, I'm Steve Yunus on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com. Good night.